Hi there, Skid Evenstani, CEO of OneWire, and welcome to Open Door. Today we're going to go interview my very good friend Philippe Lafont, who is the founder and CEO of Coatue, one of the most successful technology hedge funds on the street. He's a great guy, he really knows his stuff. Let's go see what he's up to. Today I'm here with my good friend Philippe Lafont, who is the CEO of Coatue, which is one of the most successful technology-oriented hedge funds on the street today. And Philippe, you're also a Tiger Cub, I believe, as well. You really know your stuff. You have a math and science background. Take us from your, first of all, why did you decide to go to MIT? And did you think you were going to get into finance? How did you get to where you are today?
Yeah. When I was 16, I either did not have the confidence or my parents did not let me go out enough. So I was stuck at home and I developed a love of computers. And that led me to go to MIT. When I was at MIT, I realized that there were a lot of people that were so much smarter than me that I had to find a new way to repurpose my interest in computers. And when I graduated from MIT, I desperately tried to get a job at Apple Computer, and I interviewed 3 different divisions at Apple Computer, and I got turned down all 3 times. Now, 20 plus years later, I've sort of built our fund in part thanks to investing in Apple that's done so well. So it just shows how sometimes you do get the things that you want, but maybe through a different door. Again, you have to be a little practical and show a little bit of grind. So it wasn't easy, it wasn't immediate. The engineering world is very interesting intellectually, but it's not where you're going to necessarily find the most not interesting, because the people are very interesting, but animated. And it's sort of a culture engineering where a lot of stuff you create on your own, you work late at night. This was just not for me. There are some unbelievable tech investors that also have not studied tech, so I'm not sure whether having studied technology and investing in it, if it helped. Most PhDs would be great investors, and thus we would all be put out of business. I think the PhDs are much smarter than us, but investing, I think it's a different set of skills.
Okay. From MIT, did you immediately go to Tiger, or what was your
After MIT, I spent some time at McKinsey. And the career advice that I would have for people is you need to do 2 things when you graduate. You need to do them both passionately. You need to do one thing passionately that is the obvious thing that you're supposed to do after you graduate. So if you want to go in business, going to Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley or McKinsey is probably an obvious one. But then really dedicate your wealth for 2 or 3 years to take and learn the most that you can from there. At the same time you do that, in my mind, you need to do one thing completely off the beaten path, but also passionately, because some things come through the regular channels, also some things come through completely different channels. You never know. So in my case, I was at McKinsey for 3 years. I fell in love with a beautiful Spanish woman who's now my wife, and she did not want to move to the US immediately. So I was stuck for 1 year in Spain doing nothing. So I went to work for her family, and of course that didn't really pan out. But I had nothing to do because the uncle put me in an office in the basement, and so I got stuck there. And so I started buying the Herald Tribune and reading stocks. And the way I would find out about stocks is literally the next day in the Herald Tribune I would find out what the price of stocks were. And my brother and I started buying stocks in the blue chips, Microsoft, Intel, whatever they were in the mid-90s, Dell. And at that time we just bought companies that we knew, a bit like Peter Lynch said, and we were incredibly lucky that we started a period of time where the market was up 50% every year. So of course our stocks were going up. We confused luck with skill.
Sure.
But nevertheless, it gave us the passion. And then I said, that's it. Stocks, tech, it works. And I came back to look for a job in the US. But let me tell you, if the market had gone down the 3 years that I did this, I would have for sure given up and done something else. So the luck is very important. And also being able to try different things. You don't want to spend too much time doing something obvious, but you also don't want to have your resume full of like you spent 2 months here, 1 year there, 2 years there, and like the guy looks at your resume and says, wait a minute, you've been a bit everywhere, your career is too scattered.
Right.
So you need to show the appropriate amount of commitment, but also creativity. I would try to find a way to do a bit of both.
Got you. Well, listen, that's hugely helpful. In terms of, you worked at McKinsey, and then when did you get into the hedge fund space?
After McKinsey and after my sort of 1 year of bubbling around in Spain, I came back to the US and I looked for a job. And I couldn't find a job because it was hard. I arrived in New York and I knew nobody. And then I got a job at a mutual fund, a very small mutual fund where I worked for free. But while I was there, somehow I went to a conference, met someone, so I sent my resume to Tiger. But since they saw that my resume was MIT, they sent me to the IT department to fix the computers. The IT department said they don't need me.
Okay.
So the first letter I got said, we have no space for you, but you have a wonderful resume. Thank you. And then by pure luck, through another coincidence, a friend of a friend knew the founder, and I got to meet him for 2 minutes, and he sent me off to some of the analysts, and I got to interview there, and somehow I managed to get a job.
Got it. And what was it like meeting with Julian Robertson?
The first meeting was very brief, but I went straight to the point. He said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to work for you. I know about technology, and I want to pick tech names. And I was so direct to what I wanted, I gave him no choice but to sort of, okay, fine, I'll introduce you to the people who are my tech guys.
Got you.
And I think that when someone opens a door for you, and everyone in life will have a few times doors open, you have to come to that meeting prepared to achieve one thing. For me, I knew I would only speak to them for 60 seconds, so I was like, this is what I want.
Yeah.
I went straight for it. Because if you're like, hey, great to meet you, yes, tell me more about your company, there's too many ways that he can just brush you out.
Got it. And so you ended up going to Tiger, which was obviously one of the best hedge funds out there on the street. And how many years were you there?
I was there for 3.5 years.
Okay.
And enjoyed every minute of it. And he's obviously done so well at Tiger, after Tiger. He's an amazing mentor, an amazing person, and it's one of those, again, most of my business today is in part due to the fact that I'd started working at Tiger before.
That's great. No, listen, Julian is a fantastic guy, and he certainly started a number of different firms out there and helped a lot of guys like yourself.